Hello, hello. We are here. We are here. My name is Adam, and this is the Battle Buddies podcast.
What
Who are
is
you?
this? What is this intro? This is our first episode, and we're already working on weird intros.
Yeah,
Oh no, this
I'm like
is
a
a.
YouTuber. Hello, everybody!
Oh, please no. Well, I guess if Adam and Gabe are gonna make a podcast, and if you want any, whoever's listening right now, probably 9% of our viewers just clicked off, if not like 40. But this is a good indicator of where this podcast is going. So, welcome in. My name is Gabe. I've been doing martial arts for about almost coming up on 16 years now, and I've enjoyed every bit of it. I've been teaching for about 6 of those years or 7 of those years. Wow, if it's been, yeah, about 7 of those years then.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think
Holy
it's
moly,
been
because
7 years.
it took me about 9 years to get my black belt. Anyways, we've been trained in lots of different arts. We are based in Taekwondo. We love to do all sorts of different arts too. We've also been trained in Krav Maga. I'm level 4 certified. I'm trying to get to that sweet, sweet black belt. Hopefully next year, we'll see. And also we've been training a lot of different arts. You know, we like to dabble places here and there. Lots of Kali. We've been learning Muay Thai. Lots of other fun arts to mix around with. What about you, Mr. Adam?
Yeah,
Adam.
I'm not sure if I said it before, but my name is Adam, if I didn't already say it. I've been doing martial arts for, I think, 10 years. I think it's almost there. It either is 10 years or almost there. So 10 years. I've been teaching for 3 years, and it's just crazy how, I mean, Mr. Gabe, you can probably attest to this, how fast the years go by in
Yep.
teaching.
He's a little baby.
Yeah, well, it's true, though, because, we've known martial artists who've been teaching for 20, 30,
Oh,
40
yeah, for
years,
sure.
which is insane.
Mm.
But I've been doing martial arts for 10 years, teaching for 3, and it's been great to work with students, work with teachers, work with all different kinds of people who are so wise. And I think something that I've definitely learned over the course of doing martial arts is listen to people who are wiser than you,
Yeah.
and that is how you will get wise.
Yep.
And it's been just so great, the people who I've met and the wisdom I've been able to glean from them.
Yeah.
So,
He who walks with the wise shall be wise.
yeah,
You know, I read an Isaac Newton quote recently, and I thought it was really cool. He said, "If I have seen farther than most, it's because I've been standing on the shoulders of giants." And I went, "Wow, that's really
That's
good."
great.
Because I like to think that we haven't done martial arts forever, but we've had plenty of time to hone our craft and learn what works and learn what doesn't. But I think most of that is attributed to working with some high-end martial artists. If we're any good at kicks, it's because we've been trained by Grandmaster Chip Townsend. If we're good at Krav, we've been trained by John Whitman himself, or Katie Hurd. Muay Thai training from Coach Kieran, which I haven't been able to work with him in person, but
One day,
watching
though.
all of
One
his
day.
content that he's created, and he's just a master at Muay Thai and pad work and sparring and all sorts of things fight related. But Master Apollo, Landra. If we've made it anywhere so far, it's because we've had very good teachers, and that's kind of why we made this podcast. We didn't really talk about what the heck we're doing here,
Yeah.
why you're listening to this, or why you're still listening to this, I guess.
So, like I said, one of the greatest things I've learned from doing martial arts is to become wise by listening to people who are wiser than you. And I think the reason that Gabe and I are doing this is to spread that wisdom, is to take what we've learned and to spread it to anyone who's listening. And if you're not a martial artist and you want to listen, feel free. We are going to be talking about martial arts, and that's our whole goal.
Most of the time.
Most of the time. That is our whole goal with this podcast, is to spread wisdom in which we have learned.
Yeah, I took a quote from you, actually. It was when we were kind of brainstorming ideas. It was, the podcast is made to put out thoughts, ideas, and principles so the next generation knows why we do what we do. Which I think is super important because, at least for us, one of our biggest passions has been helping the students to grow, not just to grow our student base, but to grow our students.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of why we started. Further than that, though, I know this has been a passion of mine for at least 5 or so years. I started kind of a trend in my mind of wanting not only to teach but also to teach teachers, right? To train up the next generation, which is kind of what we spoke about there, training the next generation of martial artists. And kind of back to the name Battle Buddies, why is it named this? It's a military term for your partner who you should always be with, because if you get separated from them, you're going to be you're out of luck at that time if something bad happens. But if you have someone else, they can help you. And so I think that it's very true and very helpful to know that you shouldn't attempt to grow and learn alone. And that's one of the reasons that we're trying to spread some of the things that we've learned and all of our mistakes that we've made, all of the things we've learned, so that you guys listening don't necessarily have to make the same mistakes.
Yeah, it's funny. Like whenever I think of the term next generation, especially when it comes to martial arts, I get this picture in my mind, because I've kind of in my own brain thought of, when I hear the term next generation, I get this picture in my mind of a martial arts lineage or narrative, almost, where you have an instructor who teaches some students, and then those students get risen up, and then once they're at a certain caliber, then they teach their own students, and then it's just with each generation generation just getting better and better. I remember a while back we were looking at some pictures from some of our old brown and black belt tests, and I remember you commenting on how much better our students in our brown and black belt tests look now than when they did before, because with each generation they get better.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing, and I want each generation to get better, and especially now with we're making more black belts, and I think our next Crucible test will have quite a few black belt testers.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a testament to the spreading of knowledge and how important that is, because when you are getting all these black belts, it's like, okay, what do you do once you get your black belt? Do you just sit there and do nothing? Heck no. There's still plenty left to learn and plenty left to do, because it's almost like you have a new mission. It's like, okay, I have a black belt now. Now I can use my knowledge and I can go bless other people with that. And that's incredible.
Yeah. And it's off of, what you said about just being a black belt. I think one of the other reasons that this kind of started was transitioning from student to teacher is very awkward. Because changing from, okay, what do I do? Am I supposed to stand up front? Am I supposed to stand in the back? Should I walk around and help? What am I supposed to do? Talking with the instructors, learning a new style, essentially a new type of martial arts, because you've been doing martial arts forever, but you never had to learn to teach it. And so our goal is kind of to help with that, help you to learn the ropes and show some guidance on that. Since we had to do that same transition ourselves, hopefully it'll be a little bit easier to learn to not only practice something but to better other people at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. I have something on my notes here that I wanted to bring up, which is keeping the white belt mentality of whatever's there, like whatever's knowledge there, I just want to soak it up. I want to be, this is not the best analogy, but I want to be a sponge. Whatever's there, I just want to soak up all that knowledge, and keeping that mentality. Like I remember when I started teaching, and I was like so nervous to step on the mat. I got out there, this little 4 to 6 year old class, and I was like, I don't want to say scared of the students, but I was almost intimidated to talk to them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's amazing how a bunch of 4 to 6 year olds can be so scary.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I was so self-conscious. I was like, what are the parents thinking? What are my other instructors thinking? What are the kids thinking? And it was almost just sort of this process of kind of getting comfortable being up there. And I like to say this to a lot of junior instructors. I say this all the time, which is the way you get better at teaching is you do it. Because you just have to get comfortable being in that space, and just understand that at first it's going to feel uncomfortable, but the more you do it, the better you get at it, just like a lot of techniques in martial arts.
One of the, I hate to say this, but one of the most fundamentally sound and helpful quotes I heard was actually from my brother Daniel. And we do some short films. We film some things, and he used it for acting. But essentially, what he said was, the best way to get something done is to go do it.
Mm-hmm.
The best way to the first thing you have to do for acting is you got to do it. The first thing you got to do for martial arts is you got to go do it. And the first thing for teaching is you got to go do it.
Yeah.
And I think that hesitance of getting your feet wet for the first time is scary. But if you want to get good at anything, you have to acknowledge. And this is another big point. This is one of my favorite things to tell young instructors, and one of my favorite life truths, and that's this: whenever you start something for the first time, you're going to be bad at it.
Yep.
Almost a guarantee. There are some people who are naturally gifted. Great, congratulations, you're 1 in 1,000. But for us normal people, the way our craft is perfected, and this is the same for martial arts. When I started martial arts, pretty much the only thing I was good at was running. But the more you practice something, the more proficient you get. Those who have perfected their craft are those who have worked day in and day out, hard, long hours to get where they are now.
Yeah. Or your favorite movie quote, which is, more training. Well, what's that from?
Oh dear, we're gonna get on this topic. It's from a character in One Punch Man. I don't watch a ton of anime, but that show is just hilarious. But this character, I don't remember what the character's called. I don't know. But one of the characters, they're a ninja, and their quote was essentially one that I adopted, and that is, the reason they are where they are is because they train harder than anyone else. And so I take the quote fundamentally and say, almost any problem in the world, and I say save spiritual matters, but any problem in the world besides that can be solved through more training. Anything you can get better at, pretty much. Any problem you can solve. You just need the time and the wisdom and the hours to put in.
More
training.
Yeah.
Real quick, if I could, off of that, there's a book, a really good book by Angela Duckworth called Grit. And she talks a lot about the contrast between raw talent and practice. I'm pretty sure you've read the book. I'm not sure.
I haven't read the book, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, really good book. But she contrasts and shows studies of people who just started out really good at something. They aren't usually as successful as the people who maybe aren't so good, but really put in that work. Mm-hmm. And if you really want to get anything, we can't hammer this, we can hammer this home all day, but if you want to get good at something, you really got to put in the time.
Or I think, as I heard once, is you might be stronger than me, you might be faster than me, you might be more athletic than me, but I will outlast you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
If I got on a treadmill and you got on a treadmill, I will keep going until you have fallen off the treadmill. Yeah. So, Mr. Gabriel.
Yes.
I have a question for you.
You don't have to call me Mr. Gabriel, but that's okay. I feel really uncomfortable now, but that's fine.
What is your white belt moment?
Ooh,
you had to
good
pick
question. My white belt moment actually, I think, happened when I was a purple belt. I was at a summer camp, SMAC summer camp, of course, and I was working with two of my new friends because I had been working with one of my friends for a while, and he was, when I first started, I started when I was young. I didn't really know much. All I knew was I had a friend, and my brother as well. Well, my brother was off on a trip to another camp, and I was kind of by myself because my other friend dropped. And I realized when I was working these two girls, both of them became instructors. If anyone older here knows Miss Holly and Miss Gabby, they were before your time, actually. Mm-hmm. Funny enough,
yeah.
They kind of took me under their wing for a while, and they worked with me on jumps and a bunch of stretching. They were more experienced, and we just kind of goofed off together and had fun. But it taught me, wow, there's a lot more to martial arts than just what I know already, because there's so much more I haven't learned, but also it's so much more fun to train with other people.
Yeah, that's so true though. Like, I remember when I got my black belt, I felt like I was opened up to a whole world of martial arts, because I think I heard in like in a video once where he was like a 5th degree black belt. He was talking about martial arts, and he was saying like when you get your black belt, it's almost like you've become a white belt again. You have mastered the basics. Congratulations. Now there's so much more out there, and it was incredible because around the time that I got my black belt was also around the time I started to going to more of the conferences with you guys. We're traveling to whether it be Sacramento or Denver. I know you guys had gone to Texas in the past, but I remember going to those, and it was like being Harry Potter in the first movie where he realizes he's a wizard and he steps into the wizarding world. He's like, whoa, what's this? That was me. I was like little wide-eyed, little black belt, 14-year-old dude, like, wow, this is crazy. Like, there's like a whole world of Taekwondo. There's a whole world of Jiu-Jitsu. There's so much out there. So much to learn, so much to do. And it just made my love for martial arts just go up with so much more.
Your white belt moment happened kind of when you hit black belt, really.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I don't know if it was one specific moment, but it was kind of over the course of a few months where I was just realizing all of this. But if I had to pick a white belt moment before that, I actually was a white belt, because we actually haven't touched on this yet, but you don't have to pick a white belt moment from when you're white belt. It could be from when you're yellow belt, orange belt. As Gabe said, he picked his from when he was a purple belt. But if I had to pick one besides that moment when I was a black belt, when I was a white belt, a little bit after I first joined, I thought that my round kick was not that good. I was like, man, this round kick's really, really hard. It's a hard kick. And so I went into class that day, and I told my mom, actually, that I didn't think I was good at the roundhouse kick, and she's like, you should ask your sensei then. And so I went and I asked my sensei, and he took me over to one of the bags, and he said, okay, I want you to show me your roundhouse kick. And then I did it, and he was like, just turn a little bit more. And then I did it again, and he's like, yours is actually pretty good. You got a pretty nice roundhouse kick. And that was like the first moment that I actually felt like I could be good at something.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I actually do get this. So, and I think that was really what got me. I was like hooked on it.
Yeah. It's good to remember those white belt moments, especially, well, sort of off what we were talking about earlier. I just wanted to make a quick note on your black belt moment kind of being your white belt moment. There's a rank in Kempo, I believe it is. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know the Kempo ranks perfectly, but one of the first black belts is Shoshin. And what Shoshin means is beginner, which sounds strange to most people, but I think it's good to remember that you don't end your student lifestyle, you start your instructor lifestyle. Whenever you make that transition, it doesn't have to be black belt, but when you make that transition from one to another, you don't give up that beginner's mindset, because you will be a white belt at many things, like we talked about earlier. Whenever you start something, you're going to be bad at it. If you keep that white belt mentality, you don't need to feel like I must be good at everything I do. Remember that you're going to mess up at some things. You're not going to be great at things. Some things you really got to work on. And you don't need to learn everything at once, too. You can take a little bit of one thing and practice it and just get a little better every day, right? And just that small bit of improvement. I'm sure we're gonna talk about that a lot more in a bit. But
for sure, because I actually remember around when I first started teaching, it's like a brown third degree. I was struggling with teaching the classes. I felt uncomfortable out there on the mat. And my problem was I tried to be good at all the teaching techniques at once. Because I had been to our leadership classes where they teach you, all right, here's what you do when you're on the mat with students. Here's how you correct a student. Here's what you do. They're teaching you how to teach. I was trying to do all those things at once and get good at all those things at once. And so one of the senior instructors took me aside after class, and he was like, do you think you're good at teaching? And I was like, no, like, this is hard. And he says, okay, I just want you to focus on one piece of the pie right now. Just focus on your 3x3 roll right now. Or just focus on your proximity praise right now. Don't worry about the whole pie. Don't try to take apart that whole pie. Just worry about one piece. Then once you get good with that piece, go to the next piece. And then just get good at one thing at a time. And that was good for me to hear at that time, because it was like almost like a relief, a breath of fresh air, like, oh, I don't have to be good at everything at once. I don't have to do like what I think I have to do. And that was really like it really helped me jump off into getting comfortable with teaching. And really what my point that I want to get to here is appreciate your progress.
Yeah.
Because, when you start something, you're going to be a white belt at it, as we've said. But, when you've worked hard, when you've worked on one piece of the pie, then another piece of the pie, and then another piece of the pie, always remember to appreciate your progress. And I think that's why it's another good reason to remember those white belt moments, because you can think about, that's where I used to be, and now here's where I am now. And just think about how much you've improved. I don't know if there's anything you want to say on that.
I was gonna note just a quick piece I heard from Grandmaster Chip Townsend. Of course, we've been for a while at least we try to put the students in some semblance. We put the higher ranks in the front. We put the lower ranks to the back. And it looks nice, but the reason, as Grandmaster Chip Townsend cited, is that we put the new students in the back, not because they're bad or anything, but because we want the eyes off them and give them the chance to really learn and grow without being afraid to mess up, because you don't want to be afraid to mess up, or you shouldn't be afraid to mess up. It happens to everyone, and so we put them in the back so the eyes are kind of off them. And on top of that, we put the more experienced students up front so that those younger students, those newer students, can look at them and see, man, I want to be like that someday. I want to do my kicks like this. I want to look like that. And, you're kind of off topic a little. You're kind of putting yourself in a scary position. You're kind of taking a risk when you take on a leadership role, because you're putting yourself out to the world, and the world could receive that any different manner, in any different way. And so it's kind of encouraging to, I hope. I hope it's some encouragement, our little podcast here, that you can listen in and hear about our mistakes too, because it's okay to make mistakes as long as you're improving. I have met some black belts in my career of martial arts. I've met black belts who are just black belts, right? Who they're just black belts. They don't do anything else. They don't strive for anything else. They're comfortable. I hate to say this, but they're comfortable being mediocre, right?
Yeah.
And they're okay with just being okay. And that kind of goes back to the reason that Max Academy of Martial Arts is called the Max Academy. Is in the beginning it was made this way so that the students can get the maximum amount out of their training, that they can get the most out of themselves too, and that they can always be learning, because there's never enough. Once they reach perfection, that's when they can stop learning. Never going to happen.
Yeah.
Going to be learning the rest of your life. I know Nick Wilson has said that you could train martial arts for your entire life, every day for the rest of your life, and 3 more lifetimes, and you still wouldn't learn close to all of it. And so it's so important to know that, because then it's liberating too. I can learn whatever I want and however much I want. My only limit is going to be me. And I'm going to make a lot of mistakes, because it's a lot of knowledge, right? It's an infinite almost amount of knowledge. And so as long as I can be okay with that, I can always be learning just a little bit more.
Yeah. Something I did want to get into was we've talked a lot about training, being willing to step into that leadership role. And something I want to get to is how rewarding it can be to be an instructor sometimes. We've talked about putting in the work and stuff, and there's something that we do with our students that I think it's also important to do with ourselves whenever we have a goal or something that we want to achieve in mind, which is called future pacing. So the way I like to imagine sometimes, I like to imagine as an instructor the perspective of my students. So I think about, okay, why did they get into martial arts? Well, some of them, they see, they watch Ninja Turtles or Karate Kid or whatever movie or TV show.
Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah, Kung Fu Panda. They see that in the movies, or they see that on their TV, and they go, oh, that looks so cool. I want to be able to do that. And they kind of have that future version of themselves in mind of one day, if I do enough martial arts, I'll be able to look exactly like Po from Kung Fu Panda. And that's them future pacing themselves. And so what we do as instructors is we future pace them. And we say, one day you're going to make a great black belt. And especially when they've done I know I've said this to students after I've done like a stripe test for them and they did a really great job, or maybe they did a move that looked really good. I'd always tell them, one day you're going to look like a great black belt, and that gets them thinking about the future. And then again, they're having that same moment that they did when they were watching Kung Fu Panda or Ninja Turtles or whatever it was. They're having that same movement kind of emotions now as they were then. They're thinking, oh man, I'm going to look so good, and that's going to motivate them and get them on fire for martial arts. And I think this is great to do for ourselves, reminding ourselves of the end goal. You know, I run the race to achieve the reward at the end. But I don't know if I'd even describe being an instructor as a race. I'd describe it as a continuous journey, I think. But you have those moments when you're teaching, when you've been working with a student on something with their character or something with their move, and all of a sudden they just get it. And as an instructor, that feels so good. I'm sure you can think of a few of those moments. Just today I was testing a student actually who had struggled with this one technique. It was an anti-bullying technique, which we're doing with our younger students, and we're just talking to them about, having your hands open but up, and saying back away in an assertive voice, and just walking away from this person who might be not saying very nice things to you. And we've been working on this with our younger students, and this particular student had quite an aversion to doing this. He was very uncomfortable with this sort of situation, and I was testing it on it to him today, and I was kind of coaching him a little bit, and he was able to get it, and he passed his test on it, and it just felt so good to watch him get it. And those are the moments I like to remind myself of as a teacher, because being an instructor can definitely be exhausting. You have long classes, you have long days, you get those classes where everything is chaos and you're just, whew, or you get done with the class and you're like, man, I'm exhausted, and you look at your schedule and you're like, shoot, I got 4 more classes left to teach. And in those moments, it's good to remember what I'm doing this for. And I guess what I'm getting to is, what is your why? Why do you do what you do? Why are you up on the mat as an instructor? Why do you do your 3x3s, your proximity praise, your demonstrate detail drill? What is the ultimate purpose? But I really wanted to dig into that. Is there anything you wanted to add on? Sorry, I went on a rant.
No,
there.
That's great. Well, I mean, I think it's important to let our viewers know that if you came here to listen to a coherent podcast, linear in all its ways, you are looking in the wrong place. But if you're all right with the little rabbit trails, that's totally fine. The why, I think, is really important too, like you mentioned. Knowing, it was Nietzsche who said, he who has a why can bear almost any how. It's important to remember why you do what you do. And so you don't just teach because that's your job. You teach because that's your passion. You should know why you do what you do. I think one of the biggest payoffs, sort of like what you were saying, is having the kids come in and you look at them and they maybe started out as unfocused, couldn't stand in the same spot for 10 seconds. Some couldn't even stand in the same spot for 5. Maybe rude or disrespectful or break down every time you give them a correction, and all of that has changed and they've seen improvement. And sometimes the parents will come up to you, and that gets me sometimes. If the parent will come up and say, I brought my kid here, they were disrespectful, not self-controlled, undisciplined, unfocused, they had ADHD, autism. I've been bringing them here, and everything that's been happening, has been making them better, and I've been seeing them improve, and thanks for doing that. And that's about as big of a reward as you can get. Getting someone to say, you've made my life a little bit better. That's reward right there. I want to help people be a little bit better than they were yesterday. I know we didn't talk a ton about that, but if you're looking for a goal, that's a good one right there.
Yeah. I think as you told me before, you should be able to beat up yesterday's self, which is great. So when it comes to teaching, there are those great rewards, and you get those students where it's like they've improved so much and they've made so much progress. And that's not to say that martial arts is some magic spell that'll immediately make you or the student some super disciplined or whatever person. It's not going to work in a week. It's going to work in months. It's going to work in years, but
Yeah.
it'll work eventually. And that's kind of our why as an instructor, or my personal why, like my personal purpose statement being, one day there's going to be somebody out there that needs Adam. And Adam's job right now is to work as hard as he can so that when he meets that person, he can help them to the best of his ability. Now, I realize this is kind of a long purpose statement, so I shorten it to just be at your best so you can help people. Right?
Oh, I liked the long version though. I thought
Yeah,
it was good.
I like both. It depends on what situation I'm in.
Depends on who you're talking to.
Yeah, if I'm doing a podcast talking to Gabriel Freud,
It has to be as lengthy and
I can make it long.
and meta as possible.
Yeah, but if I'm talking to junior instructor who hasn't taught a day in his life, I'm going to say, you know what?
All right, whatever. I thought the first one was cool. That's all. I do think it's good though, the purpose statement. I remember you telling me that one. I think it's really good to keep in mind, really helpful to remember that the students need you. There will be a time where someone needs you. That's not just martial arts. That's not just teaching. You should prepare yourself because there might come a time where someone relies on you. Someone might need you for whatever. It could be a changed tire, and so I prepared by learning how to change a tire. It could be this person needs counsel on this thing, and I had experience in that, so I can talk to them. Maybe they just need to talk, and you learn how to listen.
Definitely.
That's a skill too. And so for martial arts, some of the students are going to cling to you. They're going to say, it's natural. They think that you're the favorite, right? And so if that's the case, then if they like you or rely on you for success, then you can make a big difference in their lives. And so it's kind of important for us to do that. On top of that, you talked about years, and it's good to keep that future in mind. There's also a sense of exigency, though, right? Because every single day the students come in. I've been trying to hammer this into my junior instructors. Every single day the students come in, this is something that Hanchi Kovar has pointed out, but every day they come in, they're either one day closer to getting their black belt or one day closer to quitting.
Yep.
And so knowing that time frame of knowing I might not have another day, right? I will teach this class because it is the most important class I will ever teach. I might not get another opportunity with this kid. I know in Psalm 90, I forget the verse off the top of my head, but it says, teach us to number our days that we may be wise. Teach us to number our days. There's a limited amount of time we have. And so if we don't keep that in mind, we're not going to be as passionate about we must do our very best because we might not get a chance again.
Yeah, absolutely. When you step onto the mat, I put all of my excess worries, all my excess thoughts, whatever happened during the course of the day, I shove that out of my brain because right now I need to focus on this class right here.
Yeah.
And if this class goes really, really super well, or if it goes not well at all, the next class, not even thinking about that last class. I have to shove that out of my brain and focus on this class right here.
Yeah, empty your cup.
Oh yeah, empty your cup. Whereas we have the sign in our dojo, which I think it says, "Leave your shoes and your worries at the edge of the mat."
Yes.
Yeah, and that one's been a struggle for me as an instructor. There have been times where I've stepped on the mat and I've taught a class and I didn't teach it that well, and then I go to my next class and I teach it, and I'm still like frustrated that I didn't do
that
good
it didn't go as well as
yeah,
I thought.
Yeah, frustrated with myself that I didn't do good with the last class, but I'm battling those thoughts, trying to think, all right, these students need me right here, so I need to focus on them, not the students 45 minutes ago.
Because what will usually happen is you'll end up shooting yourself in the foot.
Yep.
You're like, oh man, that class was so bad. And then you end up teaching a lousy class after that.
Yep.
Because all you were focused on was how bad that class was. You need to take that out, throw it away. I know it was bad. I'm going to work harder. I'm going to train harder and be better next time. Because that's in the past, right? I can't change that.
Yeah.
But I can change right now.
Yep.
And so I'm going to change right now as opposed to dwelling on the past.
Yeah, or as we like to say, the quickest way to success is constant failure.
Yes, the quickest way to success is constant failure. I remember you using a quote from Thomas Edison, I have not failed, I have only found 10,000 ways that don't work, right? Which is really good to remember because oftentimes we get hung up on failures. I think that's another reason that I think it's a smaller one because we have at least for us personally, I think for us, we have a very strong culture of failure is acceptable. Failure is not in the sense that it's okay for you to live in failure, but it's okay when you mess up because that's the way to get better, right? If you don't fall down, you're not going to be able to pick yourself up. If you don't fail, you're not going to be able to learn what doesn't work and what does.
Yeah. And
so the people who fall down a lot are oftentimes the people who improve dramatically after that. I think about some people who failed their crucible test, our big advanced belt test, going for your brown belt, your black belt. You got hundreds of push-ups, you're doing hundreds upon hundreds of moves you're throwing, and some people, they go in and they fail, we never see them again. But the people who say, no, I'm not going to let that happen, and come back stronger and better, those are the people who
they
really
wreck the test.
Yeah, they really go at it, and they can make some massive improvements doing that.
Yeah, that's another one of those things where it's rewarding as an instructor to watch to watch them like, wow, they came back almost with a vengeance against the test.
Against the test. Yeah.
And we've used a lot of quotes today, but I'm gonna throw in one more just because I really like this one. So I'm a big basketball fan, and one thing that Michael Jordan has said is, I have failed over and over again, and that is why I succeed. And it's like, that's Michael Jordan right there. That's like in the debate for greatest player of all time. Most people consider him greatest player of all time, and he says, I failed over and over again. Michael Jordan, in fact, did not make his high school basketball team. Didn't make his varsity high school basketball team, and then went on to be one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player of all time. So that's why that's just one of my favorite quotes.
Yeah. Don't let failure get the better of you. If that's one big takeaway from this podcast, don't let failure get the better of you. I don't know how much time we have, but I think
we've been going for quite a while. This might be a good time to wrap it up.
Yeah, I was just gonna, maybe we can end with this because I know we're running pretty high on the clock, but I think that as far as messing up and falling down, one of the biggest things to remember is there's nothing wrong with moving slowly. There's nothing wrong with failing and not making as much progress. Just make sure that you're improving, right? Little by little. I know Jordan Peterson has pointed out that, and we'll probably go into this in more depth in a later episode, but he's pointed out that every day you should be just a little bit better than you were the last day. We don't have to make massive improvements. We don't have to blast through our yesterday barriers. It can be just a little bit more. But if we do that consistently, every day we're a little bit better. Every day we're a little bit better. That's how you make progress. Consistent training, consistent work to make yourself just a tiny bit better than you were last time. And if you do that, I guarantee you're going to make phenomenal progress in time.
Or as I've heard before, I may walk slowly, but I never walk backwards.
Yes.
Just getting 1% better each day, which adds up pretty fast.
Yeah, adds up.
So I think what we've kind of done today is we've kind of presented the heart and soul, if you will, of what this podcast is, and kind of what our philosophy is. That feels like a strong word. Moving forward, but not every episode will be deep like this. Sometimes we'll be talking about techniques. I know we're both Krav certified. You're level 4 certified. I'm just level 1, but we'll probably talk about some of those certification stories one day.
Just have a day devoted to, and then I got on the assault bike. Oh man, if Katie's listening to this, that probably made her really happy. She's probably not, but that would be pretty cool.
That would be epic.
So yes, just to end out, kind of talking about what's going to happen from here on out. Did you want to talk about?
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so our plan is to make this bi-weekly. So every other week we're going to be trying to release a new episode out to you guys, and eventually we want to get some guests on here.
Yes.
Some of which I know will be coming soon. And we also, for any of you who are listening, would like you to submit any questions or any topics you would like us to discuss. Submit those to us. We will definitely make sure we talk about those. We're still sorting out how that submission process is going to work. But yeah, those are kind of our plans moving forward.
Yeah. Well, it's part of the things we're working on are still works in progress. But what
Yep.
I'm probably going to do, in case you guys want to submit questions, we'd love to hear from you. We're probably going to open every podcast episode, probably do at the end just a little bit of an ask me anything, ask us anything, um, anything relevant, hopefully.
It's gonna. Sorry,
But
I'm just imagining in my head. It's gonna be
do
so
do you
cool.
like cheese? Sorry, what's that?
It's gonna be so cool when we have a Moy. I know you wanted to bring on Julio on here. When we have like someone like him, and we have like people. So we do when we do a an Ask Me Anything with him on, or some really experienced martial art, great
Yes.
martial arts, like an Ask Me Anything with him. So
Yeah,
epic.
yeah, for sure. And you guys are definitely welcome to ask us questions too, even though we're not as cool as some of the guests will have. We'll definitely leave you guys some time to ask questions to the guests. We'll be airing our podcasts on YouTube, Spotify. I'm trying to remember the other ones. Help me out here.
Apple.
Apple. There it is.
Yeah.
There it is. I knew there were a couple others. So follow us. Feel free to share with other people. It's not just martial arts here. There's some, hopefully some going to be some wisdom for everyone involved. That's what we're, trying to do. Thank you for listening. We'll see
Yeah.
you next episode.
All right. See you guys.